yes.
Yeah, it was
having this character.
It was the most amazing and profound experience I've ever had in terms of any kind of it's up there with life experiences as well as just by far and away the best creative experience I've ever had. And that's come from Justin and the way that Justin wants to work and wanted us all to work. And as I say, there's lots of kind of personal things entwined with it, which kind of made it feel all the more right to just dive in. So.
Thank you. Thank you. So one of the questions I have is the importance of the mother in the role in the film, and if you could both talk to that, because I find it very interesting the influence the mother had on that and how you explored that.
Well, she's in the book too. She's the last one standing. She's an absolute survivor, and all the men dismantled. They're completely left on the floor at the end. There was something, a strength and a vulnerability to Ellen, which is so why I was desperate for Essie to play her, because she kind of does that so beautifully, but she's desperately scared of Ned leaving her, She's scared of Ned outgrowing her, and she kind of wants him to be great, but great in a Kelly way, as opposed to kind of something else. So there's this tension throughout the whole film of, you've got to live up to your destiny and your fate, and never ever let anyone, know that you're beaten. So that was our sort of starting point, but Essie is going to talk so much better about it.
I love Ellen Kelly because she is not only a survivor, she is going to rise up above them all. And no matter what oppression or shit anyone's going to dish on her, she is going to own it and rise above it and shit on them from the way up. And she trains her sons and daughters well that loyalty is the most important thing in life, and you have to survive, and that you got to do whatever you got to do to survive, but you're never going to let anyone else win. And I love what I found really profound about tonight, even though I still haven't watched the whole thing because we got dragged out to come down for question time, is the beautiful part of this film is about storytelling. And I actually love the end when Kerno comes and tells Ned's story and says that he said, "Such is life." Because our whole country is filled with the stories we've been told, the education we've been served about our past, how we've treated the Indigenous people of our country and how they have acquiesced, how our bushrangers are heroes, but they're cop killers. And I love that Peter Carey wrote this story and said this was a man, a boy, who had his own story to tell. And no matter what, everyone's going to tell it another way. So who is he?
You focus a lot on the family, obviously, and how did you work with the cast to create that? Filming the ordinary days in their lives. I want the cast to talk a little bit about that character development, family development.
The day-to-day. Well, it started with we had about a month and a half of rehearsal, which is kind of a real treat. And I don't think we really knew what was in store for us, but Justin mentioned, he was like, we want you guys to, he wanted the sort of essence of the sort of impenetrable feeling of the band for the game. And so he made us form a punk band. And then he booked a gig at the end of the month.
I booked them even before rehearsal started in one of the biggest, most full-on kind of indie pubs in Melbourne.
It's like a proper gig.
Like, where I knew 300, 400 people were going to turn up, and the date was set, and it was like a couple of days before we started filming, and we were like 3 or 4 weeks out. And I said, "You've got to get a set together." And they all looked at each other and sort of shook hands and said, "I'm Sean." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You're going to wear dresses every single day." And
Yeah. We wore dresses when we played.
And the first week it was just diabolical, and I was thinking, what have I done? These poor guys, I'm just sending them to slaughter. And
For some reason we weren't thinking that, but we should.
no, you were believing in me, that I was looking at you going, great, it sounds fantastic. But like after like the second week, I'd walk in and go, that riff is unbelievable. Like, and you know, and then in the third week it was just getting better and better and better. By the third week they had 12 songs and they had a set.
Too many songs almost.
They had actually, I think they had 20 songs. They had actually songs to choose from. And they played this gig at the Gaslight, and there was like 300 or 400 people there, and it went off. Like, people were there thinking, who is this new Melbourne band? Because they had nothing to do with the Kelly gang. They all put their dresses on, and it was, I mean, I could have almost stopped there and become your producers for a label. And it was kind of amazing. Then the next day they walked on set, and they walked towards us, and I could see them all off each other, and you know, with their dresses, and they were the gang. And 2 of the songs are in the film, and they've got a whole album there which we're going to release. And, you know, it's true. It's true. That's completely different from the incredible soundtrack that Jed Kurzel did. It's absolute kind of side thing that came out of the Sorry, Sean.
No, yeah.
Destroyed you.
No, not at all. I mean, added too. But we'd get together and play. That the part he left out was we'd go and we'd be shooting out in the middle of nowhere in a paddock somewhere, and we'd get together and like play the songs that we'd written just to sort of get in the energy of the scene. So like someone would be like banging on a fence post, someone had an electric guitar that was not plugged in, and we'd be playing the songs and just screaming. But I think we carried that into pretty much every scene with our stuff. I think that energy, and I hope it shows. I mean, like, you know, I felt it when I saw it, you know, and I felt it. Yeah, it was a great technique. I don't know. Is that an acting technique, Justin?
No, definitely not. It was really funny, like with the Stringy Bark Massacre, and sort of looking off to the side and seeing you guys before the, you know, playing around on your drum kit before you kind of started was quite an unusual way to prep that scene. But there was an energy. Look, there's a musicality through the whole film. Even the birds, Australian birds, throughout it, you can hear. It's just not quiet in Australia, and I think it's why we've got so many great punk rock bands. The birds are so fierce and crazy and so loud you've got to play over them. And there's a kind of musicality and energy that I kind of saw that period in Australian rock and punk in the 70s, and a very particular kind of energy that to me felt like the game, as opposed to sort of something that felt too far away and distant. So yeah, music was a huge huge pump for the film.
Thank you. And would you like to second that? No, that's absolutely incredible. That's why the film is so charged. And one of the things that you came up with at the end and said, you know, that the ending is so impactful. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about why you decided to go with the ending that you did of the film.
Which part of it?
It's quite violent, it's not cathartic, it's very intense, and leaving the film with that intensity.
Well, the film definitely becomes more point of view of Ned and impressionistic of him transcending into this kind of monitor this man in a helmet, and I was, you know, like Sean and I were quite inspired by that kind of Hearts of Darkness kind of feel, and how that point of view kind of comes down to the sort of sleep in the helmet, and it becomes a kind of fever dream. And we just sort of felt that we wanted to completely take the audience into that energy of Ned, and for the world to come down to his transformation, you know, and his scream. So that affected, I think, all parts of the cinema of it, and was quite liberating, actually. It was, you know, it was, we were very, careless is the wrong word, but we were reckless in making sure we were challenging each other scene to scene to scene in terms of that point of view. And could we push, could we turn, could we pivot in, and could we use all the devices of cinema to be able to allow an audience to, you know, be experiencing that intimate point of view of his transformation. So that was really quite conscious, yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's been wonderful having this, you know, your film here. Thank you to all of you for coming out this evening, and to you for sharing this film with Toronto audiences.